Welcome to the Lead Magnets Podcast, a show for business leaders who want clarity on their marketing direction to help them grow and scale their business to the next level. I'm Julie Nichols, owner of Julie Nichols Marketing.
And I'm Dan Gershenson. I'm the owner of Caliber Brand Strategy and Content Marketing. We are two fractional chief marketing officers who lead marketing departments for small and medium-sized businesses who want to level the playing field and level up.
And today we are talking about why you need an email list. So Dan, let's talk about email. I love email. A lot of people hate email. I've always loved it, just like I love snail mail. Anybody want to send me a postcard? I love it. Yeah. But I think, we should absolutely share like the high level why email is number one, really, in making sure that you're reaching your customer. And I'm just going to go out there and say it. If your favorite social media platform goes down, you cannot reach your customers. But if you have an email list, you can always reach your customers. And I have experienced this for real at many past companies where it was like Facebook's just down, or we got locked out of our account for several days and we weren't able to post anything. And our community was very strong on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but we still had our own email list because you own that list. Yeah. You do not own your social media. Like, what do you think about that topic? Because I think people have the perception that like, oh my God, I've spent so much time on my LinkedIn or on my Facebook and that it's mine. It's not yours.
It's not
Zuckerberg's.
Yeah, it's not yours. It was never yours. It will never be yours. Even if you paid for certain parts of it to be yours, it's really never yours. So the thing that's closest to being yours, as you and I know, it's your website, it's your blog that's on your website. It's things like that I think is a good start, in the center, that hub. And to your point, the email stuff though is a lifesaver because of that. It's like, we see things changing all the time with channels that pop up out of nowhere. If we think back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when social media was kind of at its infancy, there were things that happened that were around then that were supposed to be like the next big thing. We don't see people talking about Google Plus. We don't see people talking about
Google Plus, rest in peace.
Tumblr or stuff like that.
I miss Tumblr.
Yeah, I mean, there's always these other things. So I'm not suggesting LinkedIn will go away tomorrow, but if it did, or if it was temporarily down, like you said, boy, you're sure glad that you got yourself an email list.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I love especially about an email list is when it's done right, it is your ideal clients. So you're not just talking to the void, you're talking to people who have decided that they actually want to hear from you. Yeah. So it's basically like people who have bought tickets to your show and are literally there and sitting in those seats because they paid to be there and they want to hear from you, as opposed to like just showing up in an open mic and whoever is out there in the audience, they have to hear what you are saying. So it's such like a more narrow targeted audience. And they're there because they want to hear your knowledge. They want to hear your advice. They are learning how to trust you, that know, like, and trust factor. It's such an incredible way to help people to understand how you're different from everybody else and to like guide them in the right direction. When it comes to like posts on social media, it's a lot more difficult to kind of like nurture those people who are interested in what you have to offer. But with an email, you're sending them very specific targeted messages in a specific order on a specific timeline. And it's going into that inbox and, they may be deleting it, but we have to assume that they're looking at it and that it's, helping them to build that trust with you and to know you better.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. The thing that you're so right about when it comes to the email list stuff too, I think is that there's a certain community that you're building there. And when we say community, we usually think of like some online place or something like that you join. But you're really building your own community right there through MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that. They are appreciating what you're putting out there, and as long as it's speaking to them and it's not like, hey, here's what I did this week, then I think that's something they're always going to not only value but hopefully talk about in other circles too as a positive.
Yeah, and what I like to do with email, and I may be getting into it a little too much, and we'll talk more high level stuff, but I like to encourage people when I send out emails to reply. Like, please, reply, hit that reply button. If you liked it, tell me. If you didn't, tell me. Like, I want to know, and I want it to be a conversation, because on social media, it's so much easier to have a conversation going. When it comes to an email list, a lot of the times it feels like you're just kind of sending messages out and you're really not sure if people are listening. But it's nice to kind of set up that expectation in your email to tell people, like, it's okay. You can reply and tell me what you think. Like, I want to know what you think about these things, to like really nurture it as a community and, with that one-on-one connection with that follower. But sorry, I'm getting too deep already. I love to do a deep dive.
No such thing as a too deep dive. Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good. I'm coming back up for air. And we discussed earlier before we started recording about what we wanted to talk about in regards to email marketing. And one of the things that, I wanted to share is, how do you actually get people on your email list? Like, how do you number one, give them something that's going to be valuable to help them want to sign up, which is what we call a lead magnet. P.S. That's the name of our show. That's what that means. Also, how do you even help people figure out that the lead magnet exists? Like, how do you get the word out there? And so I wanted to share a couple of things that have worked for clients of mine, things that I'm doing for myself to help people to find it. So a couple of points that you might want to jot down if you got a pen and paper is putting it in the signature of your LinkedIn posts. And when I say signature, I mean like the bottom of your LinkedIn post. Keeping it super simple. Like, hey, I'm Julie. I talk about marketing strategy. Want to hear more? Subscribe to my emails. Boom, there's a link.
Yeah.
Or you could put it in the comment of your LinkedIn post. Or you could put it in any numerous places. So within posts that you put on social, great. Another place you can put it is in what people call like a link tree, which is really like your link, whether you use it on Instagram or Facebook. It's that one link that sends you to a page where there's multiple buttons that you can push to see what somebody's all about. Yes. Putting it in there, perfect. Love it. Put it near the top. Another place, and this is something that I just put on my website, which is a pop-up. I think that pop-ups years ago had a bad rap. I think like everybody had a pop-up and it was super annoying. And it was just like, I just want to get to the website. Like, can I just see the website? But most email providers now will give you options on how and when those pop-ups show up. So you can tell the system, I don't want it to show up until my user has scrolled to 50% of any page. Or I don't want it to show up until 10 seconds after somebody has scrolled through my page. You can tell them at what timing you want it to show up so it's less invasive and less annoying, basically. So I'm toying around with that now, which something I said to Dan before we started talking was like, it's all an experiment. Just in general, when it comes to marketing, we are just trying different, we're scientists, basically. We are trying to figure out what works. It's a lot of testing. It's a lot of trying things out and being like, okay, well, that didn't work. So now let me pivot and try something else. So lead magnets, let's talk about that for a second, because I have a lot of feelings around lead magnets, Dan. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm monopolizing the microphone right now.
No, you're not. You're good. Keep going.
Okay. So I think that a lead magnet is absolutely a work in progress. And a lot of people will create a lead magnet and they'll spend a lot of time creating that lead magnet, whatever it is, whether it's a PDF, a free PDF, like here's 5 tips for how to make your business better. And it's a
Yeah.
PDF and they download it and that's it. Some people do a video where it's like, I'm going to walk you through this template. It can be a quiz. It can be any number of things. But I think people get really downtrodden when the lead magnet that they've created doesn't work. It's not what they are. Yeah, so go for it.
No. You just made me think of a brilliant quote that I heard yesterday from Amy Porterfield, who's kind of a real expert as well on this stuff. We learn a lot from.
Shout out to Amy.
Yeah, and she said something really important. She said, whether it's a webinar where people don't show up like you thought, or a community where only a certain people join out of the gate, or a lead magnet that doesn't really get a lot of people right away, or maybe over a period of time, don't get down on yourself. It's just data. And I loved that because I'm like, now we have, so she said, okay, now we have data. And with data, we can learn, we can adjust, we can do something that might be even better because of that. We've learned something. And I just thought that was great, like how you just take the emotion out of that and just say, it's just data. It's just data. It's just telling us some things about what we can do. It's not a personal thing about who we are. It's not a thing about, oh, we're dumb or we don't know what we're doing or we're...
And putting it on a Post-it. If you're listening and you can't see, it's just data.
Just data. That's all it is. It's not saying anything about who you are as a person or your intelligence as a company. So, and so to me, you understand there are going to be times that when you get into this lead magnet stuff, you will get some data that maybe isn't exactly the way you wanted it right away, but that doesn't mean that you can't adjust that as needed. I think you said the phrase yourself, it's a work in progress. And you have every ability. It's not like, oh, this is blasted out into the world. I can't change it now. No, you can change your lead magnet. You can make it better. And I think that's a really great thing that she heard. I never heard it phrased like that before.
Yeah, I love that because I think so much of what we do in marketing, people want to make sure that it works the first time. And sometimes it doesn't. And it's not anybody's fault. Marketing is experimenting. It's trying different things. And if we get the data back and we're like, well, clearly that's not doing it what we wanted to do, we have to pivot. But there's no template for what always is going to work for everybody. And I think that's where a lot of business owners get frustrated with marketing because they're like, well, what's our marketing department doing? Like, why aren't we getting the leads? And it's something that develops over time and is different for every company. So it really takes a lot of testing. And that's why I also love A/B testing. And that's something that you can also do within email is to try, okay, we're going to send the same exact email to this big group of people, but half of them will get this subject line and then half of them will get that subject line. And then let's see who responded to it better. And see okay, clearly group B liked that subject line better. So maybe that's more the tone we should go with all of our emails and trying that on various emails to see what the response is like. That's kind of next level email if you want to do A/B testing, but I can help you with that. Call me.
Call me. I think these lead magnets and associated things with email, it makes it so important in a way of when you think about it. This may not be what everybody wants to hear, but sometimes putting some things out there, even when they don't work, or at least you're trying and you're learning and you're adjusting farther down the road than anyone who ever wants to make it perfect Oh, we can't do it yet until we have it like this, or it was a success or a failure based on that. No. So I think I will preach like you will all day about this, is that you got to be able to have a little bit of comfort in knowing that, hey, just because somebody didn't click or didn't open, that is not an indictment on who you are as a brand. Even to some degree, if somebody unsubscribes from your email, that's okay. I don't want to keep sending stuff to people who don't want to get my stuff. Like, why do we want to torture them? Hey, unsubscribe, no sweat. Don't take that personally. Don't be like, hey, Julie knows me. Why does she unsubscribe from my? She must not like me anymore. No, oh my God, it's not even that. It's just data. It's just data.
It's just data. And I got to tell you, though, I don't take it seriously when people unsubscribe. And there are definitely people who are close to me in my life who have unsubscribed to my email. And I've just had to say to myself, you know what? It's just not for them.
Yeah.
But I have to say that I have not unsubscribed from emails I've wanted to because I'm worried what that person is going to think.
Me too. We'll say
I'm
that.
like,
Admit that.
I'm like, ooh, I don't want so-and-so to hate me. So I'm just
Right?
going to like automatically filter it to trash, and then
Yeah.
they'll just never know that I don't read them anymore, which is horrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want people to be mad at me.
Oh,
So
I do it too. I'm just like, how good of a friend am I with this person if I unsubscribe? So like, would they really take it hard against me or something? But yeah, it's the thing is there are so many of these things. It's not even necessarily just you that they're unsubscribing from. They just have so many other things that sometimes are bad that come into their email box. You could have the greatest e-newsletter in the world, and they may still unsubscribe because they only want the core people they know in their inbox. It's not to mean that your stuff stinks or that it isn't resonating with them. It's just how they feel about e-newsletters in general. So, as we were saying in our previous episode, that's just an opportunity to get them somewhere else where they live and they're more comfortable. That's all.
yeah, I totally agree. And people go through seasons. Sometimes they might be like, wow, I really needed, the marketing information. And now I feel kind of like I'm doing good. And the content that they're getting, I already know now. So, you know what? I'm going to unsubscribe and move on, which is great. You were there for them when they needed you.
Yes.
Let's talk for a little bit about what should go in your emails. We only have a few minutes left, and I just want to give some very high level concepts for you guys to think about. And I think email is probably a topic we'll come back to at some point in another episode. But the basics that I always like to set my clients up with is a welcome email sequence. So typically when someone subscribes to your email, they'll get that lead magnet, whatever it is, that thing that you've offered them that is going to be just like a little prize, a little thank you for joining your subscription. Okay. And if they stick with you, then what happens? What happens is that you should have a series of about 5 to 6 emails tops where you're slowly introducing yourself to that person and explaining to them more of what you do and how you can help them. So it's not a hard sell. It's more of like, here's information on what I do and how I do it differently than that guy over there. And here's how you can picture yourself in my process in working with me. This is what it would look like. So I like to break it up where, they immediately get like a welcome email that talks about, hey, thank you for joining my email list. I hope you enjoy my lead magnet. I mean, don't call it a lead magnet because they don't know what a lead magnet is. Say, I hope you enjoy my PDF with 5 tips to blah, blah, blah. I hope that you get a benefit out of it. And here's what to expect from my emails. Number 1, I'm not going to spam you, and then really don't spam them. Okay. Tell them how often they should expect to hear from you. If you're only going to email them once a month, say that. If you're going to email them every day, say that. Let them know the expectation. Don't lie. Be very transparent about this because that may not be their jam. And they may get irritated with you if they're like, oh, I'm going to get an email every day. Well, maybe this is not what I really wanted to do, which is totally fine. You do what you want to do for your audience. Then tell them, just basic housekeeping. Reply to this so that your email system knows that you want these emails getting in your inbox. It's basically like training the system so that we can make sure that email is getting to them and is not going to spam. So stuff like that, setting that up as the very first email. And then like a day later, starting out with like, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do. And just want to keep it short and sweet to explain some basic bullet points about what I do. Yeah. Then a couple of days later, maybe talk about an offer. A couple of days after that, talk about a particular service that you love helping people with. So it's basically trickling out over the course of like 2 to 3 weeks, which is like the ideal time that you want to make sure that your, prospect can learn the most about you that they can, because that's when they're most likely to buy.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing to remember, I'm so glad you mentioned this, because I think sometimes people come out of the gate with something that is full of images and a lot of links and things like that. And if you haven't established some kind of connection with them to say, I'm going to be sending you this, then certain email providers are going to see that as some spammy stuff. I wish it wasn't that way. I mean, we're just talking about images and links, and that's not like the most harmful thing in the world, but it is what happens. And so make sure that they are accepting, they're subscribing, and that their email provider understands that you are, friendly, you come in peace. And I think if you got that, then you can definitely have it the way you want. The only other thing I'll say on that, though, is don't be afraid if it's some of the things that I will admit, some of the emails that I have been reading a lot more of lately are text only, one topic emails. And yes. They would look as ugly as possible to some people. Oh my gosh, where's the links? Where's all the images? Where's the colors? There's nothing of that. But it's one topic, and it comes across, and I have some time to read it. And I just feel like I got a lot out of it in that short period of time. So don't, keep your mind open to how these things can look. That's what it's really about.
I have to give a shout out to my friend Shamika Volkers. She's an incredible copywriter and email marketing person. Look her up on LinkedIn. Love you, Shamika. I had a one-on-one with her yesterday, and she's just delightful. And she said something that I wrote down specifically on this topic, which is one email should be one idea and one link.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Keep it simple. One idea and one link, putting like a million and PS. Also, subscribe to this and then do that. Blah, blah. She's like, just one thing. I was like, Shamika, the way you put that was like genius. I'm writing this down. So Shout out to Shamika. I'll make sure to tag her in the when we put this up. But breaking it up, if you have a bigger idea, breaking it up into several emails instead of just dumping everything into one email. Really be aware of how long your emails are is really the other major point that I wanted to make sure that we talked about. Clearly, we are going to be doing more episodes about email. I already think we can talk about evergreen email sequences that are ongoing. We can talk about best practices for email to make sure that they're getting to people's inboxes and not going into the void and getting you in trouble. I think a lot of people do it the wrong way, where they aren't doing the proper things to make sure that people are opting in to their emails. So stay tuned. We're going to talk more about email. I mean, I have so much to say, Dan, and not enough time to get on with your lives. So we're going to end this. Thanks again for tuning in to the Lead Magnets podcast. I'm Julie Nichols.
And I'm Dan Gershenson.
And we are so glad that you were here with us today. And until next time, take care.
Take care, everybody.